Okay. All right, let's see how this goes. First time in a while. Streaming live on YouTube. Let's see how it goes. Once you're joined, please say hello in the live chat. Let's see how this goes. It's been a while. Hey, Matt Petrie. First viewer, first commenter, at least. Thank you very much, Matt. Says hello and congrats. Yes, thank you. As you can tell by the title of the live stream, I'm going to be an uncle. I don't know whether people should be worried or happy. Hello, Ed. Hey there. Hey there to you as well. Hope everyone's doing well. And it's been a while, right? Been a while since I've been live here on YouTube. So we're going to just run this going on for the duration of the afternoon, evening, night, morning, wherever you are. See how it goes. I know it's impromptu and it's totally not planned, so we'll see what we get from the live stream. It's an open discussion. If anybody wants to ask questions, please feel free to do so. I actually just got back into Tennessee today. As of right now, about 3.5 hours ago, I'm back home. Was out visiting some family in North Carolina for the week, my wife's side of the family, and that's where we've been. So now I am here. This little thing right here, it was a bit of an ordeal to get it up and running, but I'm willing to go through ordeals if it means being able to interact with my audience somewhat regularly. So please let me know how it sounds, what it looks like. Let me know what you think. I'm anxious to hear about it. I did a little bit of a test before doing this one, and it sounded and it looked good. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. So if you're still watching and you want to comment in the live chat, you know, what you think of it, go ahead and do so. Right now we still have 2 folks watching. Give it some time. I just shared it abroad to Facebook and Twitter. So we'll give the algorithm a chance to do its thing and let people know that, I'm here and you're here and we're all here together. So if it sounds good and if it looks good, I want to know. Please let me know down in the comments or the live chat or however it is that you're watching. Using my work setup here, so it's going to be a bit different, Going to be checking screens and checking things, so want to make sure that everything's good. So what's everybody up to tonight? All 3 of you who are still here watching. What are you up to? Let me know. Let's talk. It's been such a long time, and I know this wasn't planned, but now that I know that this works, this could be something that, despite the ordeal, despite the, added minor headaches, just minor headaches, a few reboots and stuff that have to happen in between, how technology goes. I'm willing to go through that. I'm willing to make that happen so that way we can talk and interact here on YouTube. Oh, doing schoolwork. Hey there, RC Sprower. If I said that right, thanks for tuning in and watching. What kind of schoolwork are you working on? 'Tis the season. Hopefully you will be getting a chance to observe, holiday breaks or whatever that you're, whatever you're in school for. You're getting a chance to observe holiday breaks coming up. We've got, in the U.S. at least, we've got the, widely observed Thanksgiving holiday. And then, of course, the big one, the Christmas season, where a lot of folks take extended time off. But I actually just got back from a week off, visiting my wife's family out in North Carolina. Working on your master's in nursing. Well, congratulations on that. That's a extensive education. So hope that works out well for you. How far along are you in your nursing degree for your master's, at least? So what is that, an 8-year degree for your master's? Hope that's going well, despite the the climate of the world as it is. Hope you're doing well with that, and hope things are going well. My sister just announced publicly today that she's pregnant. Her and her husband, my brother-in-law, are expecting a child in about June 2021. So, as you can tell by the title of the video, I'm going to be an uncle. Pretty excited about it. I'm actually really excited about it. So, yeah, that's what I've got going on. Got 1 year left, RC Sprower. Well, I hope that the remaining year is going to bring forth good things for you, that you'll that you have a career lined up and everything, which I'm sure you already do. If you're working on your master's, then it's just a furtherance or extension of what you're already working in. So you've got your career path lined up. So congratulations on that. Nowadays, that is a big thing. That's a huge thing to have, a career, a job, something stable, something to work towards and work on. So well done. Hope it works out well for you. And I am coming back now from after being off for a week. It's a funny time of year. I've got vacation days and PTO time that I have to burn by the end of the year, because I'm not the type to just burn time unnecessarily. But if I don't use it, I lose it. So I had 2 weeks left to, take time off, or I don't have it for the next year. So I said, you know what? I've been working so hard. I've been doing so much stuff, behind the scenes things that, you guys and gals may not necessarily be, intimately aware of or know about. But rest assured, I've been working my butt off. And I took a week off around the weekend of like the Halloween week, end of October. Took a week off, came back, worked a week, and then took last week off. So I don't have any more vacation days built up. I've got a ton of sick time, which I'll never use, and that's okay. But we're about the month and a half left of 2020. Month and a half left of 2020. You made it. You're here. I'm here. We're here together. Guys, we made it. And that is saying a lot, because this year has been one absolute ginormous, extravagant tornado of craziness, right? Between COVID and just all kinds of things across the world. It's been an absolute disaster. Dumpster fire is a good word. Dumpster fire is a good word to describe 2020. Hashtag dumpster fire, if you think about it, right? So for everybody that's new to the channel, if you've never been here before, my name is Jesse, and I talk about various things pertaining to Norse heathenry. The terms Norse heathenry, Germanic paganism, also true. Those things kind of get lumped into one giant category, right? But if you're wanting to support Midgard Musings, my channel, the Facebook page, Twitter, Patreon, Teespring, Buy Me a Coffee, all that kind of stuff, I just posted in the live chat. You can click on the Linktree link. You'll find all of the ways that you can support Midgard Musings that cost you nothing, right? Become a subscriber to the YouTube channel, follow me on Twitter, like the Facebook page, and follow everything over there. If you do want to donate via Super Chat, you have that option. You can certainly do that. It is appreciated, but it is not required, because I want you guys to just enjoy the time here that I have with you. Hello, Luis Droz. Luis Droz says, hi. Well, hello, hail and welcome, and thank you for tuning in to tonight's surprise live stream here on YouTube, which I haven't done in months. My goodness, it's been forever. But I did want to jump on here and test this whole thing, because it's a newer setup. I had to fight some technology, which is interesting because I actually work in IT. So you got to fight through some things. You got to make things work. Sometimes you got to, fight through those mini battles to win the war. So we're here. we're chatting. Hello and welcome. Hail to everybody. Let me know down in the live chat where you're chatting from. I love to know where everybody who's watching is watching from, right? I myself am in Tennessee in the United States, although I'm not from here. And I just got back from visiting some family on my wife's side over in the neighboring state, North Carolina. RC Sprower is streaming or watching, or actually watching live from Ohio. Really cool. Been to that state a number of times. The Columbus, Cincinnati, Toledo, everywhere in between. Almost every major county and sub counties, all the major and minor cities of Ohio. I've been all over that state. So thank you for watching from Ohio. RC Sprower, congratulations on your education with the master's degree in nursing. Hope that works out well for you. So yeah, wanted to ask if everybody here who's watched thus far. Oh, we got Ed Hickey, who is Taunton, Massachusetts. Yes, the Great White North, right? I'm originally from New York. Massachusetts is a neighboring state. Doesn't quite. I think my geography is off a little bit, whether it touches or borders New York State. But yeah, you guys are right up in the vicinity. Luis is watching from Texas. Awesome. Know a lot of great folks out in Texas, depending on the region of Texas, whereabouts in Texas that you're watching from. I know a lot of great folks out in East Texas, specifically the Tyler area. For anybody who's watched my content and knows that I advocate and support greatly, Eric Shervin, his YouTube channel, The Ravens Call. He does weekly shows here on YouTube. And he's got some stuff on Facebook as well. I think he has a presence on Twitter, although he doesn't use it that much, and he's going to be the first one to admit that. But it's out there, so definitely support Eric Shervin out there in East Texas with the Ravens Call. A lot of great folk out there in the East Texas region. But yeah, it's great to hear from everybody. I know Matt Petrie, who commented initially, Odin's Beard Woodworking up there in Vermont. So if anybody who's looking to get some pieces to accentuate their altar space, I'm going to show you, if you guys follow me on Facebook, maybe on YouTube as well, because I share some photos here and there, you'll see this little guy. This is my Thor pocket altar from Matt Petrie. The lighting is probably not going to do him as good a justice, but this is the pocket altar version of Thor, right? He goes with me wherever, a lot of places where I go. Yeah, there's the light. Let's put a little light on him there. There we go. Isn't he handsome? Holding his hammer, looking all meaty and gorgeous and stuff with his beard and his armor and stuff. So yeah, you can get stuff like this from Matt Petrie at odinsbeardwoodworking.com. He's got his Facebook page. He just actually reached 10,000 followers. And you can support Matt on his Facebook page as well by becoming a supporter. I think he's got some really cool monthly subscription type thing. So local businesses, local artisans, be sure to please support your local artisans, even if it's not Matt, right? But I definitely would ask that everybody please support Matt, even if it's just a like on his Facebook page. Follow him. Make sure that you've got that notification on Facebook set to follow. And if you want to buy something from him, his prices are extremely reasonable. I gotta say, for the type of work that he does, for being just one guy, he's got his wife and now 3 children that he's supporting. His prices are lower than you'll ever find anywhere else. So if you're looking for something to accentuate your altar space, you can get, pocket altar size pieces like that. You can get things up to I think it's 6 to 8 inches in height. I've got a Thor piece that I commissioned him to do on my altar. And I also have got a 5 or 6 inch tall Odin piece. But he is going to be my go-to guy for my altar. Anything that I use to accentuate my altar. So got 9 people now watching, and I've only got a few of you that have commented. So please tell me where you're watching from. Ask questions. Talk to me for a bit. It's been a long time since I've been here on YouTube. I'd love to, discuss things. I'm sure you guys are just itching to ask me questions, and if you're not, that's okay. But if you have questions, please fire them away, because it's been so long since I've been here that I want to kind of touch base with everybody and get reconnected. Hello, Austin Caldwell, checking in from Kentucky, right north of where I am, actually, because I'm in Tennessee and Kentucky is north of us. So I'm actually in the Middle Tennessee region. So you are quite literally north, and depending on whereabouts in Kentucky you are, north, northeast, northwest, due in those respective directions. So thanks for tuning in, Austin Caldwell. Thank you so much. Be sure to check out the links that I post here periodically throughout the live stream for the Linktree link. Everything is there. If you want to donate to the channel monetarily, you can do so through Super Chat. Realize that YouTube does take a huge cut of your donation. So if you want to help support the channel more directly, if you click on the Linktree link, you'll find a PayPal link there. You can donate through there. Luis Drew says, moving to Tennessee soon. Well, cool. Moving to Tennessee from Texas. If you want to discuss whereabouts in Tennessee do you think that you may be coming to, and good luck in that. I actually moved to Tennessee 15 years ago from New York State. I was young and I had things on my mind and things going on in my life that drove me down here. But it was an interesting turn of events that have kept me here. So I have been in Tennessee since 2005, 2006, somewhere in that time frame. Rootwood, Tennessee. I am not familiar with that. So I am going to do the thing and actually look at where Rootwood, Tennessee is. That's not a thing. Rockwood, maybe? I don't know. Rootwood, Tennessee. It says, did you mean Rockwood, Tennessee? I am in the Middle Tennessee area, so maybe it's Rockwood, Tennessee. But anyway, congratulations. Hope you like Tennessee when you get out here. Maybe you've been out here before. Like I said, I moved from New York. My first time in Tennessee was 2005. Officially made the move in 2006. So coming up on 15 years. 14 on and going on 15 years in the state of Tennessee. I've been to the west side, to the middle, visited all over the place. It's great. There's certain things that draw me back to New York. Like there's certain things that there's this gravity well essence of New York, just because that's where I was born and raised. That's where I grew up. Okay, Rockwood. All right, very cool. Yeah. So Rockwood, Tennessee, for those that are not familiar, Rockwood, Tennessee is Rowan County, which is East Tennessee. I actually just came through Rowan County, coming back from North Carolina. So you will be going to the East Tennessee region, Luis, which is great. It's a very small city, so you're going to have that to look forward to. I don't mind the small towns. I don't mind the small cities. But it's closer to like the Smoky Mountains, out in that eastern region of Tennessee, closer to those areas. So it's great. Beautiful country. So I hope you like it. But like when I said, when I first moved here to Tennessee in 2005, 2006, right? I grew up in a rural area of New York, Some would say that it's not very rural because I'm from Long Island originally, and everybody's like, well, how rural can Long Island be? Well, the part of Long Island where I'm from, Riverhead, was mostly potato farms where my parents and stuff were raised, and it kind of built up and whatever. But the area of New York where my family lives currently is Orange County, lower foothills of the Catskill Mountain Range. So I grew up in the woods. I grew up out, fishing, hunting, hiking, all that kind of stuff. I wasn't the type of kid that decided I'm going to waste my time playing video games and going to the mall. And first of all, we didn't have social media when I was a kid, believe that or not. MySpace was a later thing when I was a later teenager. But at that point, man, I was already ingrained into being outdoors and doing this. I worked on a farm for a decade, a little over a decade. So all of my extracurricular activities and time was spent outside and learning things about real life, fixing fences, working in, chopping wood, cutting trees, working a chainsaw when I was a teenager, all kinds of stuff. I was mowing yards and stuff in the summertime for extra money and shoveling snow and working snow blowers and things like that when I was in the wintertime. So great stuff for a young person to learn. But that was my life as a young person. Hello there, JS. I said hello. Hey and hello. Hail and hello. JS. Small towns are very nice, very relaxing pace compared to cities. Yeah, for sure. Where I live currently is a big college town. We're about 40 miles southeast of downtown Nashville. And it's it's building up like crazy. It's a nice region in terms of the ethnic melting pot, the cultural melting pot. Yeah. Rockwood, right, Lewis. I got you. The melting pot that Murfreesboro is in Tennessee, melting pot of culture. A lot of stuff going on. Big college town, but it's building up so much and it's getting so crowded that there's, you have to really get to the outskirts of things to enjoy that secluded nature, which is what I was used to as a kid growing up. So when I first moved to Tennessee in my early 20s, was out west of Tennessee, West Tennessee, not quite so far west as Memphis, but kind of in that that lower left-hand corner of the state, kind of close to Mississippi, but in the western region, and it was very secluded and it was very rural. So Lewis says this would be your first time moving out of Texas. Depending on where in Texas you're moving from, I don't think it's going to be that big of a culture shock. You got to think where I'm from, where I came from in New York, even though I grew up, in somewhat of a rural area. When I moved from the north to the south, big culture shock, right? Because I was used to going places, doing things, bing, bang, boom, I'm in, I'm out. Come to Tennessee, and everybody's like, oh, they want to talk, they want to be, cordial, which is fine, but like, I'm from a part of New York where I was like, why are you talking to me? I don't know you. It kind of made me uncomfortable. So it was a culture shock for me. So if you're coming from Texas to Tennessee, you're probably going to be moving laterally in your cultural exposure to things. You know what I'm saying? Like that part of Texas, you're saying you're from the north part of Texas, so like close to Oklahoma, I'm assuming. You should be all right. You know what I mean? Like the culture, unless you're in like a major city. But I think that part of Texas, as far as like, because I used to travel all the time, ladies and gentlemen. I used to travel for my job about 10 years ago. Well, what's it, 2020? Yeah, about 5 or 7 years ago, I was traveling all over the United States. So my exposure to those parts of the country, North Texas, Oklahoma, that area, pretty much the same as what you're going to experience in Tennessee, right? So you're not gonna have too much of a culture shock when you come out this way. Temperature-wise, weather-wise, probably going to be about the same because you're pretty much just moving lateral. You're just moving further east. You're on that same, kind of a little bit south, because you're, that northern area, but you still that stretch of I-40 that goes straight, like I-40 goes straight through Rowan County. So it's not going to be that bad. I think you'll be all right. I think you'll like it. So hopefully, as these live streams continue more, we get to talk. Maybe you'll be tuning in more. I'm going to try to create a regular cadence now that I know this sort of thing works and that it actually looks good and sounds good. Hopefully, everybody agrees. Looks good and sounds good. I want to do these things more regularly, kind of like how I used to do a year ago, months back, and stuff, and actually have some regular live stream things, whether it be during the week, on the weekends. We'll figure it out. But this was kind of a trial run. Looks good, sounds good. I think nobody's saying that it's bad. Nobody can't hear me, so we're gonna run with it. JS says, have you ever been to Wisconsin before? And if so, what was your cultural experience like? Yes, I have been to Wisconsin. I've been all over the state. I've been to, I've been to Green Bay. I've been to, what's that city? It starts with Racine. I've been to Racine. I've stayed in Racine many, many times. Fond du Lac. Very, there's a stereotype. A lot of places that you go, a lot of places that you experience. The Midwest, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Michigan, those types of places. It's, oh yeah, don't you know, very nice, kind of that rich Scandinavian culture that exists up there, but they're very, very cordial, very nice. And again, it was mostly for business. Actually, it was entirely for business. I've only ever stayed in the Midwest, in Illinois, in the Chicago area, once for leisure, and that was for a concert. So it was like, a very brief stopover. But I've been in every state except for like 2 or 3 in the United States. So my experience with the locals have been for business, but they've always been pleasant in the Wisconsin area. I know some people from Wisconsin that have always done right by me, very nice, very kind, very cordial. So I got nothing bad to say about the people from Wisconsin or anybody up in that region. So I've never met a rude, would it be Wisconsinite? I don't know, Wisconsinner. I always wondered that, I'm a New Yorker, right? New Jerseyan, Floridian, Texan, Oklahoman. Are you guys Wisconsinites? Wisconsiners? I don't Wisconsinite. There you go. Okay. So JS did confirm. It sounded right to me. It sounded right to me. So I said that just kind of rolls off the tongue, right? Wisconsinite doesn't make it sound any worse than what it is. So yeah, you Wisconsinites, right? Very nice folks. Very nice folks. One-eyed Willie, hail from Wisconsin. You are Wisconsinites. Well, thank you for confirming that. We're the only one who will an ite with an ite ending. Yeah, Michiganders, right? Is that what you guys call the Michigan folks? The Michiganders? At least that's what I've heard. I don't know if that's a play on something else, but Michiganders, I think, is Ohioans. That whole, part. But I've always tried to wonder, like, or I've thought about it, like every single state, Californians, right? There's some states I'm like, well, if you're from there, what are you? Like, I'm a New Yorker, right? Or I'm a Tennessean, or I'm a Floridian, or I'm a Kentuckian, or I'm a Wisconsinite. Like, what do you call somebody from Montana? Montana-nite? Montana? I don't know. Like, so funny. Michiganians or yuppers, if Upper Michigan. Okay. Michiganians. So I was totally off there. Michiganians. The Michiganians. Yeah. My Oh, Upers. Upers. Yeah, right, from the UP. Upper Peninsula, the Upers. Okay. Why did I say Yuppers then? I guess it was because how it was spelled. I just looked at it and tried to say it phonetically. Upers. Yeah, the UP. Uh, that's way up there, boy. That's way up there. That's like when I tell people that I'm from New York, right? Or I ask people, oh, you're from New York? Yeah, where are you from? And I tell them, and they tell me, oh yeah, I'm from, uh, Rochester, or I'm from, Jamestown, or I'm from Buffalo. And I'm like, hey, you're almost not a New Yorker when you go up, maybe not Rochester, but like way up there. Like you're almost French at that point. You're almost French Canadian when you get on there. Luis Drews has just followed you on Facebook. Well, thank you so much, Luis. Appreciate that. Luis from Texas, moving to Tennessee, East Tennessee, Rowan County, here soon. So thank you so much for following me on Facebook. For anybody that's just joining the live stream, please check um, the live chat that I just posted for ways that you can support Midgard Musings. The Linktree link will take you to a bunch of different places. There's Facebook, Twitter, of course, the YouTube channel, which you're watching right now. Make sure you subscribe. I have an Instagram, but it's not worked. And I don't mess with Instagram. My wife kind of runs that whole thing, but I'm trying to get it to where I can cross post from Facebook to Instagram, since they're kind of, linked or whatever. But I don't worry too much about Instagram. But yes, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook are the big three for me. And then, of course, all the other ways if you want to become a patron on Patreon. Astrid, greetings all from the SLC. Sorry you're late. Astrid, you are right on time, because you know what? No one here who is joining is late. I made this an impromptu thing because I wanted to, and I wanted to see how this live stream was working. So, and Janet King, audio is pretty good, sort of old time radio like. Well, this is the headset that I've got that I use for work, and this is the setup that I got pretty much here. So if it's not crackling too bad, and if I'm not laggy at all, appreciate the feedback. So great to see Janet King here. Janet King, longtime supporter of the channel, top tier chieftain level Patreon supporter, always gets the monthly rune draws that I do for chieftain and jarl level patrons. October's is going to be coming out this week. I was actually, like I was mentioning earlier, if you hadn't caught it from when you joined the live stream, I was in North Carolina all week visiting my wife's family. So there was a little bit of a delay as far as that goes from the beginning of the month, because we left like right at the beginning of the end of the week of the beginning of November, and I just got back today. So there's a little bit of delay there, and then we'll get back into the normal rotation of things. But thank you so much for your Patreon support, Janet. Always good to see you here. Thank you so much. Live stream of yours. What did I change, JS? So what I changed was my approach. I apparently have always had this option, but I decided to fight through the approach a little bit, and I decided to fight through the change, because what I was trying to do with the live streams, it was giving me all kinds of technical errors, right? So I decided, like, you know what, I want to do these things. I want to be out here more, and I want to engage with all of you people that support me on here on a more regular basis. So I decided I'm going to fight through this. I'm going to figure it out, and I'm going to do what I need to do. If it means having to work around some technical issues and perform a few reboots on the old laptop or whatever, as long as I'm here and we're streaming and we're good and it sounds good and it's not super laggy and choppy, because there were some live streams in the past, for anybody that's been around long enough, man, it was just horrible, and I would not want to be a part of those live streams. I'd be like, you know what, I'm gone, I'm moving on to the next thing. So it's not much has changed except my approach, and I just want to take a more proactive approach. So thank you for your feedback. Buckeye, Ohio, Indiana, and the Hoosiers. All right, Janet. Hey, John Watkins checking in. Hey, hail, and welcome to the live stream, guys. I wanted to do this live stream just for everybody that's tuning in. I'm going to be an uncle. I've known about it for a while, but my sister announced publicly today on social media that her and her husband are expecting a child in like the June time frame of 2021, and I'm ecstatic. I am thrilled. She's in New York. They're in New York, right down the road from my parents and stuff. But we usually make trips up to see them from Tennessee to New York about once a year. So hopefully, by the time my wife and I go back up to visit next year, the baby will be here, because we usually will go like on a yearly visit. We'll go in the summertime. So the plan would be to be up there shortly after the baby's born, and celebrate and stuff like that. So I'm really excited, and wanted to use that opportunity to get out here on YouTube and touch base with everybody and reconnect and ask any questions. It's an open forum. I'm here until whenever. You guys need to bounce. You need to go and do your thing. That's fine. But I'm here. I'm here for the foreseeable couple of hours, potentially. So, yeah, that's where we're at. So it's great that everybody's tuned in and joined. Feel free to, like I said, greetings from Uruguay. Wow, cool. Uruguay. I'm gonna probably butcher your name, but de MLS Siaman. So greetings from Uruguay. Thanks for tuning in and watching. You may be the first live viewer that I know of who's announced themselves from Uruguay. So hope you are safe. Thank you for tuning in. If you've never watched my channel before, my name is Jesse, and I post videos every week about Norse heathenry, Germanic paganism, also true. Those terms are quite oftentimes, summarized or put as like an umbrella term to define this form of paganism. So thank you for tuning in and watching. And if you have any questions about that sort of thing, when I say Norse heathenry, Germanic paganism, also true, what I'm talking about is a polytheistic religion that focuses on the veneration of Northern European gods, gods like Odin, Thor, Freyr, Frigg, Freya, those types of things. So if you have any questions, anybody wants to talk about anything about that or any concepts within those, within that religion, we're here to talk about it. But it is a unofficial live stream. This is kind of a new thing that I've taken on in terms of the format to try to make it work. So it works, and it has been working now for how long have we been streaming? I don't even know. Let me see if it tells me. We've been streaming. Oh, 38 minutes. 38 minutes. Streaming strong. No interruptions. No breaks. So Heavenly Shaman would be. All right. Just reading the comments here. If you are new, like I said, to the channel and you never tuned in before, the Linktree link that I just posted to the chat is all the ways that you can support Midgard Musings. So you click on that, and it'll take you to a site that shows you everything that you can do to support. Like the page, on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, subscribe on YouTube. Mariah Trujillo, hail, long time no see. Nice to see you. Nice to see you as well, Mariah. Another longtime Patreon supporter, I believe at the Jarl level. If you're just joining now, Mariah, just want to let you know that the October rune draws that all of my Patreon supporters at the Jarl and above level are receiving your monthly rune draws. They will be coming out this week. As I mentioned earlier, I'm coming back from a week-long stay in North Carolina with my wife's family. So we're just coming back now today. I've been gone for a little over a week. And your rune draws will be coming out in your emails this week. If anybody's curious about that, just click the link tree and click on the thing that tells you about Patreon. What's been happening in your downtime from YouTube? John Watkins, great question. I've actually been, in the last couple of weeks, been uploading regular videos. I just did a video earlier this week. I think it was, well, you want to say earlier this week, but on Friday, I believe is when the video went up, Thursday or Friday, about the concept of sin in heathenry. And then the one before that, about a week prior to that, was codifying heathenry. So I've gotten a bit more active within heathenry, but the reason why I was, being less active or having a bit of I still have to redefine the uploading schedule of when you guys can expect videos. But the reason for that was mostly due to my job, right? The duties and the responsibilities and the obligations that I have in my professional career required me to be, in front of my computer 10, 12, sometimes longer hours a day, 5, sometimes 6 days a week. So as you can imagine, or as you can possibly imagine, when that kind of stuff happens, like the last thing I feel like doing is like, okay, I'm done with a computer, right? I don't want to get in front of a camera and record any content and then sit in front of a computer again and then edit everything and spend the hours that it takes to get everything uploaded. So I was burnt out on that after working all that. So things are, I took some downtime. I took some much needed vacation time to get away from work, right? Get away from the work type of thing, and upload some content and get kind of back into the swing of it. Coming into the holiday season, things are going to be a bit more steady. So I'm hoping during this time to kind of regroup and get a more sustainable format for content to be uploaded once a week. I usually upload stuff at the beginning of the week, usually Sunday nights or Monday mornings, and that's kind of what I'm looking to maintain. As far as these live streams go, now that I know what works and what it's going to take for me to work, and then I can, kind of work around the minor technicalities of, or the minor inconveniences of the technology of it all. Try to do that about once a week as well. So we'll see. But that's what I've been doing, to answer your question. Work has been keeping me extremely busy, to the point where I had to just say, you know what? I am not burning up my vacation days. Figure it out. I'm putting in for my vacation time, and I'm turning off all of my, work notifications and things, because I work in IT. So the nature of my business is, I'm constantly getting emails and notifications about things that are going wrong or whatever. I'm like, you guys are on your own for the next week or whatever it is, because I need that mental vacation. So that's what I did, and it was therapeutic to say the least. So hopefully that has answered your question, and like I said, it's going to allow me to. I already got the next video that I want to do this coming week already planned. I just got to get all the details documented, and all my notes, all my footnotes, and everything that I work on. The last 2 videos that I've done have been like, I haven't been in front of a camera. I've recorded the audio and just uploaded the audio in a video format, because I've been kind of out of pocket, not able to like stand in front of my camera so easily, and outside of like the normal workspace that I usually record content in. So those things have been well received. Like, people have liked that. I like to, upload that type of content to my podcast as well, which again, in the Linktree link, you'll be able to see that. If you like listening to podcasts, the video material has been uploaded the last couple of weeks to the podcast. But I do want to get back in front of the camera and record the content that everyone's kind of used to seeing and hopefully expecting. So, oh yeah, Marias has moved up from Jarl to Chieftain, and happy to support. Thank you so much. It's good to take breaks. Happy that you did it. Well, thank you very much for your support, Mariah. And just as a reminder, right, at Chieftain level, at the chieftain level, one of the things, in case anybody that's at that level that's watching right now, of a Patreon, is you get, not only do you get, credit at the end of all my videos, because I run like a credit screen, and give everyone a shout out at the end of all my videos, thanking you. You also get your rune draw every month, and then chieftain levels also get a discount on my wood burned rune sets, right? So they are either birch or driftwood of your choice. Normally they're $20 domestically. So if you have pledged to be a patron at the $10 or the chieftain level, right? You're now at a discount. So whenever you want to call on that, you just send me an email or reach out to me on social media, whatever, and said, hey, I would like to get a rune set, and you will be credited accordingly. So that's a one-time offer for everybody at the chieftain level of the Patreon tier, right? I I got a lot to learn yet about about Patreon and stuff, but that's one of the things that I wanted to do, is give everybody that gives the top tier donation or give the top tier pledge the opportunity to not just be credited and not just get their rune draws, but they also get a great discount on my rune sets, which again, the material that I collect, I do wood burning rune sets, wood burn rune sets. So if everybody's interested and you want a rune set, you can certainly purchase one. Payments are made through PayPal, but if you're already a Patreon supporter, then the cost of that rune set is drastically cut because of that donation. So, or because of that pledge, whatever you want to call it. So, just a reminder, so that everybody else that's thinking about it, maybe looking at it, can, contemplating what they want to do with donations or anything like that. It goes to help support this channel, and do things like this, where I can get on here and talk to you guys for a couple of hours or whatever. My time is, when I'm not working, my time is valuable to spend with my family and friends, of course, first and foremost. But in my downtime, if I can come on here and chat with you all and, answer your questions, talk about things that you want to talk about. Maybe you had something on your mind, maybe something was bothering you. Oh, I read this thing, or I saw this thing on this one post, wanted to, kind of rap with you about it, or bounce your idea, or bounce this off of your mind to get some more ideas about it. Hey, that's great, and that's what I love. I love to talk about things, and I love to hear about your ideas and your thought processes, because quite often your guys' opinions and your guys' thoughts will help inspire me to talk about some things, and maybe the things that I'm thinking about and willing to share out here will give you things to think about as well. So there's a bit of reciprocity, there's a bit of give and take to the whole thing. So we can help each other, I think, and especially now in today's climate, where there's a lot of extracurricular activities that may be limited due to the public's restrictions of places to go. And a lot of people are sitting right here and watching things and doing things on their phones and on their computers and whatnot. So let's take advantage of it. Let's try and learn some things and help each other out as much as possible. So that's why I'm here, and I'm happy to have you all here with me. So I want to give you all a toast. Skull, thank you for your support. And yeah, it was about a 6.5 or 7 hour drive back from North Carolina today, visiting my wife's family. So it wasn't too terrible. Normally my my end of the family, like my mom, my dad, my sister, her husband, and all that, they're up in New York, which is about a 14-hour drive from where I am in Tennessee. We drive because we like to have the freedom of having our own vehicle to, move around, and plus it usually costs less for us to drive instead of flying, booking a rental, all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of where those things are. But this week, or this past week, drove out there um, and visited her aunts and cousins and some of her extended family on her dad's side. So it was a lot of fun. We usually like to go out there once a year. Last year, unfortunately, we weren't able to do that. Some things came up. So this year was a much anticipated time to reconnect and see everybody. So what's everybody up to? What is everybody up to tonight specifically? Checking some of the notifications on the YouTubes and the Facebooks and the Twitters. So what's everybody up to? How's everybody doing? What would you like to talk about? I am at your disposal. We're here hanging out. I'm sure you just don't want to hear me blabbering on about things, but I can blabber on as much as you want. Playing games, cook chili for dinner. Oh man, great time of year to be cooking chili. While we were in North Carolina, reading John Watkins' comment there, my wife's aunt cooked a mean pot of chili, and she likes spicy food like I do. So she made a mean spicy pot of chili, man, and it hit so good. It just this time of year when it's starting to get cold and that sort of thing, man, like that chili just hit home. Going to do a live feed on Facebook, Mariah. Cool. Talking about Odin's discovery of the runes tonight. That's really nice. I thought about doing a more extensive series here on the channel because, as some of you know, I've done a the 9 pieces of 8, kind of a play on description of rune study. I did a mini series here on the channel called the 9 pieces of 8, and I talked briefly about 3 runes for however many weeks to get through all 24 Elder Futhark runes. I thought about doing a 1 rune a week, or 1 rune a month, which would be a 2-year if I did 1 rune a month video series, and it would take, like I said, about 2 years because it's 24 runes. So if you think that would be cool, or if you would like that, let me know in the live chat in the comments what you would think about doing that. I've thought about talking about each rune a bit more extensively instead of trying to lump in 3 runes at a time and talk about them. I thought that a 15 or 20 minute long video discussing the runes in a video might be something that people would like. I know other YouTubers have done it, other heathen channels have done it, but what harm could it do to give you some of my insight, right? So Mariah, congratulations on your Facebook Live. I hope that goes well. Hope people tune in for that. Okay, so JS had a conversation earlier today with your kids, and they asked a question. Did not really know how to thoroughly answer. They asked if they could follow Jesus and the Norse gods. Tried to explain the problem with the different theologies, but that's about as far as you got. That's a tricky one. That can definitely be a tricky one. Depending on how old your children are, Jay, they may be getting into the age where they're starting to pick up on things and be curious about things from multiple angles. So maybe they see certain things about one religious approach, and then they see other things from another religious approach, and they see things of interest from both sides, and they want to combine them, right? Um, I'm sure you know, and again, it's your hall, your call. Those are your kids, your children, your hall, your call. Um, so how flesh that out, and how it kind of I don't know the right word for it, but how it breaks down for you in your hearth is going to be up to you and yours. Yeah, but and you gotta look at the whys too. Like, why would that be something considered? So there's probably, I would think at least, there are some influences that they're receiving about Christianity, um, and they're also getting influence about Norse heathenry, Germanic paganism, that sort of thing. You know, so why they want to combine the two, why they want to blend the two, is most likely, I would think, at least, due to some exterior influences coming from both angles, right? So they're trying to digest it all. They're trying to think about what they can do, or what makes sense. They're testing the waters, as it were. Um, so you're in a position, I think, and again, this is my opinion, right? So don't take this as me trying to tell you what to do, because again, it's your hall, your call. But parents have a position, with their children, to train and to lead by example, and to be that sort of thing. So if there's conflicting things, if there's opposite ends of the spectrum that are being influenced, the children may be confused, or they may be trying to combine the two. Um, I personally haven't found the combining of deities, the combining of pantheons, the combination of spiritual practices to be beneficial. And other folks who I hold near and dear to me, who have tried to do so, who have actually tried to maintain a sort of multi-polytheistic, multi-pantheon approach to things, where they're talking about the Norse gods and the Greek gods and Egyptian gods and everything, and combining it all into one melting pot, doesn't stand well. It does not flesh out to be anything beneficial. So therein lies, there's a paradox. What things are you trying to accomplish? What are you seeing beneficial from either side? Especially when they're this young. Um, okay, so Jace's stepdad's very devout. Baptist. Yeah, devout Baptist. So there's the thing, right? When there's children involved, very influential, right? They're easily swayed, because of who they're the adult figure, the person who they hold in high esteem. And if there's step parents involved, they're going to hold both in high esteem, right? Because they're children, and the parent is the adult, whatever the dynamic may be. Um, but I come from a Christian background, you know what I mean? I was raised with Christian values, and actually held some pretty devout beliefs. My entire worldview had to change when I found heathenry, and when I discovered things within heathenry. Um, and it's taken, now 5-6 years of being a heathen. It's taken me every single day of all of that time to get where I am right now. So it's not an overnight transition. It's not an overnight thing. There's really no, I don't know if there's a really right or wrong answer, in terms of, you want to, um, follow Jesus, and follow the Norse gods. On the surface, I would say that's impossible, just because of the values, and certain things that are talked about in Christian doctrine that prohibit, the veneration of the worship of any other god. That's kind of like one of the number one things, Thou shalt have no other gods before me. One of the 10 Commandments. It's sacred law. It's divine law for Christians. Thou shalt have no other gods before me, because the Lord thy God is a jealous God. There's this fear element. There's this whole thing that gets added to it to make sure, like, you don't do this, or else you're gonna get it. So I don't think that that's gonna work. I don't think that would, and that's, again, without being involved and without having any sort of horse in the race, and not being a part of your call. It's not my call, but it seems that that influence is going to try and use fear tactics to convert, or to shift the focus from a polytheistic view of religious worship to a monotheistic view, to focus on a singular God. So there's plenty of moral code. There's plenty of moral values, that stand on its own within heathenry. That there's no need for the Christian bells and whistles. You know. So again, not knowing how young or old your children are, or the children involved here are, um, depending on their age and depending on how influential they may be and what their choices and stuff are, they could just be testing the waters. They're trying to understand things when it comes to spirituality and religion. So there may be some conflict there. One-eyed Willie says that their wife is Christian. Teaching children about religion can be a bit dicey. 100% agree about that. You know, I am of the type to think that your spirituality, begins at the home, and the hearth and home, and whatever spirituality. But I don't think that. I think really, and again, I don't have children of my own, so I may be out of my realm to speak about this. But I personally think that when it comes to spirituality, that your practices, your hearth cult, whatever it may be, and I say hearth cult, don't, I'm not trying to say that that's a heathen thing. I'm just saying that whatever your particular practices are within your hearth and home, be they heathen, Christian, whatever, um, that's up to you, and that's up to you to decide. When it comes to children, they're going to pick up on things that are done in the hearth and home. So if your hearth cults are blending, and there's a divide between what one spouse or what one figure follows or believes, then there's going to be that, like one-eyed Willie, he says, that it's going to be dicey, it's going to be challenging. Um, they'll have to figure it out on their own. Morality does not need to be tied to religion. That's one of the best things I can say. You don't want to push anything on somebody, even if it's your children. But what you do want to do is you want to be a good example. You want to lead by example, right? You want to, I think, raise your children by an example, right? I don't. Here's the funny thing, right? Like, my mother and my father have obviously known me my whole life, and they um, saw me from the day I was born up until I am now. And it's interesting because something my mother told me not too long ago, like within the last year or two. She says, "I like you better now. I like the person you are better now than I have before." And again, I was raised Christian, and my parents still hold to Christian values, King James Bible, the whole bit, right? So when I hear that and they say, like, "I like you better now, the way you are now, the way you conduct yourself now, the way you are now," I'm like, well, I am absolutely not reading the Bible. I am not following any sort of Christian doctrine or any sort of dogmatic rules or anything like that. I'm doing what I do for the reasons that I do it. And yet they find me to be a better person now because of it. So that's an interesting thing to think about. Um, Jace says, mother's Celtic pagan, stepdad's Christian, you're Norse heathen. wide variety of influences, which I think is an interesting, thing to have. They have choices, they have things that they can learn, educate. The important part, I think, is that the guide is strong, right? That they have a strong guide, because anybody can just get all willy nilly and be all, mixing of things and have no, the compass doesn't point true north. It doesn't. They're just kind of sailing around, hitting different things and discovering different things, and not having any real center, not having any real roots. Roots are going to pull you back to where you are. And it took me 30 some odd years to feel that pull. Wasn't any fault of the way I was raised, I don't think. Wasn't anything like that. So it's a very unique situation, and it's probably something that nobody in the same situation, somebody else in the same situation you're describing, may have a different approach or different answers. It's why I said your hall, your call. However, your inner circle, however those people, however your family dynamic is built. I think that children should be nurtured, and children should be guided to learn, to discover, to find things. They're already that way. They're already naturally inquisitive and that sort of thing. Like, that's how we find things, how we learn things about ourselves, about the world around us as we're children, as we go into our youth and into our adulthood. We find things and we discover things on our own. As long as there's somebody that's rooted and bound to one thing, they can go to and ask questions about, then they'll get those questions answered, and they're going to gravitate to whatever they want to do, right? And whatever they want to do, I think that they should be respected enough to do it, right? You may want, or one may want, a child of theirs to be a certain thing. If they gravitate towards something else, if they feel a pull towards something else, as long as it isn't morally reprehensible or damaging to people or whatever, like, who are we to quench that? It's my feel. Mariah brings up a good point. Says, give them time, set a good example for them as a person, and they will come to their own decisions when the time is right. Blending of theological things and potential problems can arise. I mean, it's water and oil. You know what I mean? Christianity and pagan beliefs, there's very obvious and inherent oppositions that exist. Practically speaking, fundamentally speaking, a lot of the Christian practices and things, like, look through and read through, any of the Old Testament texts. The way things were prior to Jesus Christ, chronologically speaking, very pagan, very, very ritualistic pagan practices. The way you had your priest class, and you had, they led rituals, and they did certain things, and they made sacrifices. That's all, I mean, very pagan in their roots. It was just done to a different deity. So as far as that stuff goes, it's, splitting hairs a bit. Dingo is here. My Gothi, my brother. Hail and welcome, Dingo. A lot of the discussion is why I'm very glad Kaya could be a part of the Wicker Man. So Dingo is in the live chat right now. Wyatt Coverdale, hey, hail and welcome. Just want to say hi. So let me just step back a little bit. Dingo is here. One of the very few who I call brother, and recently, during the Winter Nights celebration, which just so happened to also fall for a lot of Celtic pagans around the Samhain time of the year, end of the month of October, right at Halloween. Everything just hit right at the same time, right? We did a family ritual. Dingo's daughter got to be there and got to be a part of the assemblance and be a part of like seeing we did a Wicker Man thing. We lit the Wicker Man, and the Wicker Man, the way we assembled the Wicker Man was a direct sort of nod to Freyr because of the Winter Nights celebration, right? We were closing the harvest time and welcoming in or acknowledging in the close of the harvest time, and now we are getting into the winter months, right? So we made the Wicker Man to represent Freyr. Kaya, Dingo's daughter, was present for that and got to see the Wicker Man get lit and everything like that. Beautiful, beautiful celebration of life and death, the harvest time, the time of focusing inward, that sort of thing. Um, and as he said, the discussion is very, it focuses a lot around hearth cult, how you show your children, however young or old they may be, the values of things, right? And they're going to pick up on that. They're going to see what you're doing. And if there's other influences about, they're going to, I'm almost willing to bet, right, that if a child has two different people focusing on two different theological or religious beliefs, that they're going to pick up on certain things, but there's going to be this sense, there's going to be this interest, and I call it the gravity well. There's going to be this pull that is going to draw them one way or the other. They're going to ask questions, they're going to be inquisitive, and they're going to ask questions, but there's going to be something more about one or the other that's going to pull their focus. They're going to want to be that. They're going to want to focus on that one thing. They may ask questions about this other thing, and that's fine. Education is great. The seeking of knowledge, right? Odin. That's okay. But they're going to be drawn to that. They're going to be drawn to something. They're going to be drawn to that gravity well is going to pull them into something specific. They didn't do it the ancient way. What do you mean the ancient way, Wyatt? Yes, we did a Wicker Man. So, I mean, I wasn't around in ancient times. I know we did it the way we did it. We we literally built the Wicker Man from the ground up in the woods. There was no frame pre-assembled. There was nothing. We did it. All hands of the tribe were on the Wicker Man to build it, and it was awesome. It was some of the most, I think, frith building activity that one could ask for. You know what I mean? So it was harvested deadfall from the woods in the grove where we have our vey on Dingo's parents' property. The vey, or the circle, the sacred space, the grove surrounding that area was, the wood for the Wicker Man was harvested from that area. And we built it literally from the ground up, framework up. It just, everything was locally sourced, and the hands of the tribe were on him to assemble and to build it. And it was an awesome ritual. Very honored to have been a part of it. Get lit. The Wicker Man being a Wicker Man, dancing and having a good time, but all seriousness sounds awesome. No human sacrifice this time, guys. Yeah, no literal human sacrifices. Get lit is a relative term because that was kind of part of the ritual process. Just kind of just the way pagans do, right? In all reality, like it's kind of par for the course in a lot of ways. It was a great time with kindred that night, and I can't wait for the next one. Thanks, Wyatt. Yeah, thank Odin. No human sacrifice. This wasn't a recreation of the 7-year sacrifice of Uppsala, right? Where they had to sacrifice a human. Um, you guys can read about that, but that was a thing at one point in time. Mariah says, ever hear about the burning of Zozabora? It's a lot like the Wicker Man concept, but Mexico yearly event. I think I may have heard of that. Sorry for the zoom in and zoom out as I was reading the comment, but I think I may have heard of that. Actually, that doesn't sound too unfamiliar to me. But it is interesting to know about how different cultures have a very similar thing like that. You know, yeah, human sacrifice. Good thing you didn't do that. You know, I'll put it this way: we could not acquire a suitable human sacrifice. Was no such thing around. Not in this day and age. Not in 2020, at least. No, I'm just kidding. We're not going to be going around doing that sort of thing. Yeah, we're modern pagans. You know what I mean? We're practicing old ways in modern times. So there's going to be a little bit of. There's going to be obviously there's going to be plenty of. I say poetic license, or there's going to be a lot of adjustment to things. You know, for the way bloat is held and the way ritual is done. But for that one, for that night, I think it was well received. I think those present can attest that it was, you know, it was well felt. The energy within the Vey was, it was good energy. You know what I mean? We did a lot of things to make sure that that space was hallowed and sacred. So a lot of good stuff. Yep, beef stew. No more burning people for you. Oh darn, right? Oh man, no more burning people. Well, shoot. Guess I have to go home for the night. That beef stew was amazing though. And I know it's probably a guarded secret family recipe, but I can say for sure that my wife would love it. It's very similar to what she already does, but man, oh man, was that beef stew on point. Fantastic, man. Absolutely great. Oh man. Who we got here? We got Grinkon. Hail and congratulations. Well, thank you, Grinkon. Did I say your name right? Yeah. Hail and welcome. Thank you so much for the congratulatory welcome to your introduction there. But yeah, you can't stop the boys from playing, Wyatt. You can't when there's. It's like I saw this meme, and probably everybody else here who's watching has seen it before, and it was something along the lines like, "In my defense, there was a fire and there was mead." And pretty much at that point, I don't want to say all bets are off, but most of the bets are off. When there's fire and there's mead, or when there's scotch, Wyatt, right? Wyatt knows he's been on these live streams enough. I'm out of scotch, right? It's like a natural disaster. It's a catastrophe. We've mentioned it enough times, but so yeah, if there's fire and mead or scotch or any combination of the three, there's bound to be a really good time. With enough axes, you can stop someone with doing anything. Yeah. With enough axes and shields, right? But so yeah, anybody who's new joining the live stream, the very new live stream. I haven't done one of these in a long time. Want to definitely do some more of them. Check out the Linktree link that I just posted in the live chat if you're so interested. Make sure you've liked the Facebook page, followed me on Twitter, subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you want to become a patron on Patreon, there's perks on there. Everything's laid out. But everything else, as far as likes, follows, subscriptions, all that kind of stuff is free. Doesn't cost you anything, and it really helps, support the channel. So if you do want to support monetarily, you've got the super chat option. If you don't want YouTube to take a cut of that, you can donate through PayPal. It's all there in the link tree. Yeah, we got that covered too. So that's a cool thing to think about. Grincon, I'll get to your comment in just a second, but the axes thing, right? We got that covered as well, because literally all of the wood that was harvested for the Wicker Man and for the ritual and for everything that night was hand harvested, of course, from deadfall woods or wood in the grove area with axes. There were no chainsaws, guys. There were no mechanical instruments being used, no modern day instruments. Literally, the brute force of our bodies and the sharpness of our axes harvested these pieces. So it's as authentic as you could get, considering, right? Which is really what helped make everything about that night as magical as it was. Because I had been out there on the property with Dingo like a week or two prior to bring some of those logs and some of those pieces down to the Vey, and it was hard work. It was laborious, you know what I mean, but it was so well worth it, and it really helped make everything just fit so appropriately. So Greencon, just reading your comment now. I've been doing some more research and been in the hospital. Well, I hope you feel better. Number one, asking, what are your thoughts on the heathen holidays? More celebrate the wheel Wiccan holidays based on the solstice and equinox. Came to find the old ways were lunar based and only about 4 of them celebrated. Yeah. So again, my approach, the way I've sort of adopted things in my own pagan practices, is not based around the Wiccan wheel of the year, which is very modern. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with it, but it is not heathen. It is not the way the old arch-heathen folks would have observed time and observed their holy tides. So I have personally approached the holy tides to be more historically based. For instance, the Winter Nights celebration that we just mentioned was celebrated on the Haustmanadur moon, which was the full moon of that particular month, and it just so happened to fall at the same time as Samhain and on the night of Halloween. So that was when we celebrated Winter Nights. Now, the dynamic, how it looks, how it's fleshed out, what you do, can be particular to your tribe, your kindred, your collective. Another one that we do, or another one that I've done historically, which we're going to be repeating again this coming time around, is Yule. The Yule moon is going to be in the month of January, right? So we're not going to do Yule around a very popular time of year for many pagans. Is to celebrate Yule in the same time frame as Christmas. We're not going to be doing that. We are, my tribe, we celebrate Yule more historically based. The one thing we didn't get to do this year was Sigurblot collectively as a tribe. We didn't get to do that this year. Timing and whatnot didn't work out, but definitely next year that's a plan, is to do a big Sigurblot festival or celebration and have something along those lines. But yes, as far as an opinion goes, again, you ask 10 pagans, right? 5 of them may answer one way, 5 of them may answer another way. It's really, what is your approach? How authentic do you want to be? How historically accurate do you want to hold the holy tides. I've personally wanted to adopt a pretty strong historical approach to the holy tides and how we hold them, or when we hold them, I mean. How we hold them is going to be based on our tribal thew and our tribal customs and traditions, which are currently being built, right? It's an organic approach. It's an organic way of doing things. So, my thoughts are: do what you want to do, do what your group wants to do. If you have one, do what your tribe wants to do. Develop the customs and the thew of your tribe, how you want to do them. Do you want to do Yule around the end of December, and do a 12-night long celebration where you do certain things, or do you want to do a more traditional pre-Christian celebration of Yule where it's 3 nights and on the Yolamundur moon? So again, it's an opinion. It's my thoughts. We like to do it on that frame of mind, on the more historical side. You do you. Your hall, your call. But it is lunar based. The timekeeping was kept around the lunar cycles of the moon. The solstice, things like the Wiccan Wheel of the Year. That's not Germanic by any means, historically. So great catching up with you too, Mariah. Thank you for tuning in. You may have already left, but it's great catching up with you here, and glad to see you have gotten to join the live stream. So have a great night. If Wyatt says would like to follow up, I would follow you guys on things other than YouTube again. Oh, that's cool, Wyatt. Totally cool. Again, we're here. We're here. So when and as the time comes, you've got other platforms to follow, but I'm here. Like I said, try to upload content every week. So your presence and your support is greatly appreciated. We love having you here. Awesome. Yeah, good to hear you being excited about Yule. Yule is probably one of my favoritist festivals, and like Dingo says, last Yule was fantastic, and it really was. And I'm really looking forward to this one. We've got the details yet to hash out as far as what we do. Yeah, Grinkun says your Yule is 3 days, which is a bit more traditional, right? It's more traditional, at least to the historically accurate method of how it was celebrated. And I think it was in the saga of Hakon the Good. And again, this would require a lot for my tribe, because the celebration of Yule was 3 days, and in the saga of Hakon the Good, it was 3 days or until the mead was gone. Well, you want to put that in respective terms. Until the meat is gone, with my tribe, we'll have Yule for a month, because that's almost like a challenge, right? Well, how much meat are you talking about? So like last year, we had our main Yule bloat and sumble on the first night, and then some of the other tribe members came over the next couple of days. So this year, because of work schedules and things like that, we're probably going to focus a little bit more towards a modern convenience. Look at the weekends, that sort of thing. So it may not be exactly on the full moon, but it's going to be in that vicinity. We have yet to flesh out the details about it, which is going to be coming soon. Dingo's part of the tribe, so he'll know. But yeah, it was a grand time. It was a wonderful time. A lot of good stuff happened. Everybody had a great time just sharing in joy and frith and just all kinds of wonderful things. So yeah, Grinkon, I do remember your name. I'm reading your comment. Don't know if I remember your name's Joe. So Joe Grinkon, I'll try to remember that as much as I possibly can. But yes, I remember the name vaguely. Your YouTube handle. Upstate New York connection, but one of your first rune sets when you started making them. Sweet. And it's great, 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 great to read that comment and to know that you're still here. I do remember your YouTube name. So I'm super, super glad that you're here now, all this time later. Can't afford that much meat, Dingo. Yeah. 3 years of winter was a Ragnarok joke. How come no one? Oh, you're talking about Fimbulvinter. Yeah, Fimbulvinter. Yeah, the long winter. Funny story, not necessarily funny, like funny haha, but interesting story. When I did a interview with Varg and Sol from Voluspa, the band Voluspa, one of the things that Varg talked about was a literal Fimbulvinter, right? There was a time in history where there was that extended length of cold. Like it actually happened. You guys can go back to my video catalog and watch Our Heathen Hearts, my interview with them to learn more about that. But it actually happened. Okay. Catch up on here. So Greenco says, never got an answer. We wanted you to try out our local mead. It's going to send you a few bottles. Oh, hey, well, so Greencon, if you're not on any other social media, then you can always email me for details about that. It's Midgard Musings tn@gmail.com, and I'll put it in the live chat for you there as well, because I may have missed it, I may have overlooked it, I'm not sure, but that's how you can get a hold of me. If you don't have any other social media, you can always send me an email. But if it works out and you're willing to or wanting to send it, then I'm happy to do so. You know, like as recompense or as payment of sorts or whatever. We can flesh out those details. But I'm happy to feature it here on the channel if it's something that you're looking to get some attention on. You know what I mean? So reach out, send me an email. Definitely happy to discuss it. Hey, Robert Muldoon, hail and welcome. Thanks for tuning in. Burning a dragon's blood and getting ready to get back to work. Glad to hear the news. Well, thank you so much for tuning in, Robert Muldoon. Not sure where you're tuning in from, but it's great that you're here. Thank you so much for commenting. I love dragon's blood incense. Probably one of my top favorite aromas. And whatever you're doing, wherever you're getting back to work from. Oh, cool. Knoxville. Well, I just drove through your neighborhood earlier today. Came back to Tennessee, came back to Middle Tennessee from North Carolina after visiting family out there for a week, and just drove through Knoxville. A bunch of rain that we hit earlier today. So hope you're doing well, and whatever it is that you're getting back to doing work-wise, I hope that it's proving well for you. Yeah, turns the water blood red, the dragon's blood. Yeah, I've seen that. I don't have any, but I've seen that happen. Why it's also remember that Enochian guy. I forgot his name. Yeah, Richard. Been studying Enochian magic for a while, and it is very interesting. I don't think it's for me. Seems a little too dangerous for your liking. Yeah. So Richard is his name. Another brother of mine, interestingly enough, and he himself has not delved too much, at least. He's delved a bit in the past into the Enochian, the magic aspects of it, but even he himself, as Enochian, in his approach to spirituality, has identified some of the dangers or whatever of it, and some of the you got to be careful. No matter what spiritual approach you take, when you try to engage the sacred, and when you try to talk to the gods or any of the sacred deities or any of those that dwell in the sacred realm, because we exist in the profane space. They exist in sacred space and time. So the veil between the two is very delicate, to say the least. Doing the wrong things to achieve a certain goal can really mess things up for you. So I understand your approach to that, and I can relate to that in a way. So if it doesn't fit, hey, no need to. It's cool to learn about it, right? But in terms of investing in it and getting any more, deep into it, if it's not for you, then just maybe just uh maybe just don't do it, right? Yep, it is tricky, like Dingo says. It's old, not much is known. Oh, Godfrey Bear joining in. The bear from the great white north has tuned in. Hail and welcome, my friend. Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. Just doing a casual live stream, guys. I'm happy to announce that I'm going to be an uncle. Wanted to, you know, just stream a bit tonight and talk to you all, share with you all the news. If you care to subscribe, follow, like the pages, that whole bit. See the Linktree link that's been posted in the live chat. Working with demons, and by the studying, I've been doing reading White's comment. Working with demons, Book of Abraham, the Lesser Keys of Solomon, Corpus. These demons aren't. So that's the interesting thing. Like, not all demons are. It's like demons and angels are synonymous in that thing, right? Like, there's what they are there for and what they do, what purpose they serve is is a lot different than what you may think on the surface, right? Like, I know Richard, who's summoned and invoked certain demons for certain things, and some of them have, you know, the working with them, the ritual workings with them have cost more, than others have cost. You know what I mean? Like, what their purpose is, what purpose they serve, what role they have. Thank you, Greencon. I will check the emails. We'll definitely check that out, and we'll be in touch. Um, yeah, like Dingo says, Dingo here is one that I can say who has a there's a reason he's my Gothi, right? There's a reason for that. His spiritual journeys, his connections with the sacred have been vast and elaborate, to say the least. So, um, when it comes to a lot of things, he's a trusted source to connect with, as far as uh, connecting with the sacred on many different levels, because he's been there. He's reached those realms. He's walked through those realms. He's been there. So yeah, demons work always involves cost, and it is. It's not unlike the. It is a bit unlike, but there's with what we're used to as Norse pagans. What we're used to is understanding the value and the importance of the gifting cycle, right? You can't work with the sacred. You can't even expect to connect with the sacred without first, delivering a gift, and without initiating that gifting cycle. A gift for a gift. It's it's kind of like that, but it's different when it comes to like the Enochian stuff, right? There's other things going on. It's The dynamic is way different. Um, but the cost is sometimes greater than the gift, what is given when it comes to that. Whereas with what we're used to is that there's this equal exchange, there's this balance that always has to be kept. If something greater is given, something more is given, and then you have to give greater to equal it out. Um, that whole thing. Did I ever figure out YouTube and the demonetized videos? Yeah, yes and no. It's going to be an uphill battle with YouTube. You know, I'm a content creator. They're constantly changing um, their rules and their regulations, and sometimes the way they automate it, um, I'm all for automation when it comes to figuring out certain things, and I'm all for empowering the content creators to ease the automation process. But they've introduced some new things that there's going to be hiccups. You know what I mean? So there's a process. You know, you appeal it. Um, you let them know like, hey, your bot is goofing up, whatever, um, and they review it, and then everything's cool. So, you know, I'm not out here to buck the system, and I'm not out here to make any sort of ripples in the pond or whatever. I'm doing this for fun and help people out. So um, it's a, it's a constant uphill battle. By no means am I a big YouTuber, and there are other YouTubers out here they're doing bigger things that are dealing with problems like this on a bigger scale. So it just is what it is. Um, so you live and you learn, and you work on you work through it. Um, Demonic dealings are like business. Heathens dealings are more family oriented or tribe oriented. Yes, exactly right. Tribe oriented. Dingo nailed it right on the head. Thank you, GreenCon. Trickery and deception. Yeah. Yep, it sure is. Look after the elders, and the rest, and the next step will increase your knowledge and responsibilities. Good comment there, Godfrey Bear. Elders in the community are deserving of respect. You know. If you guys don't mind, I'm going to take a quick restroom break. Give me just like a minute or so. Do the same if you so wish. We'll continue the live stream. I'll be back. I'm gonna leave the stream going. So don't go too far. If you need to, just step away, stretch your legs, stay healthy, and I will be back here with you shortly. All right. Thank you, everyone. Sorry for the interruption or for the intermission. Sometimes you just got to take care of business, right? Uh-oh. Floor is yours, Wyatt. What do you got, Wyatt? The floor got turned over to you. Chair in a cramped office. Hey, know how that goes. Robert Muldoon, offhand question. Went east and found what looks like to be a Mosar tooth in terms of heathenry. What would be the significance of fossils and the ramifications of carving runes on it for your altar? Ooh, that's a really good question. Well, I think that carving runes on anything, um, no matter what the material, um, needs to be done carefully and with knowledge of what it is that you're doing. Um, the saga of Egil Skallagrimsson uh, makes reference to the importance of carving runes, using runes correctly. Otherwise, you run the risk of perhaps doing something that is countering the effect that you want to have on it, right? um, and then you've got the stanza in the Hovamal, you know, do you know how to bless them? Do you know how to send them? Do you know how to carve them? Do you know how to write them? Do you know how to, do you know all these things about the runes? It's in the Runetal uh, portion of the Hovamal. Words of advice, things to take into pretty careful consideration when it comes to carving runes onto anything. So as long as you know what you're doing, then the intent is really what matters. If you found a fossil, if you found something that has a specific, I think there's power in that too. You know what I mean? Like I think there's power in those sorts of things because the life essence or the things that are tied to whatever that material um, it resides in that piece. It's tied to the land. It's tied to that animal. It's tied to that life force that it was um, that it originally came from. So I think as long as you know what you're doing, and as long as you aren't just acting all kind of willy nilly about it and being careless with it, then then you can most certainly um, do it well. You know, you'll take that energy from the life force that it had that is stored in there. Dingo's like, yeah, old energy. Yeah. So the old energy that resides in there, that's dormant in there, you're giving life to it with the rune carving, or that part that you're giving it, breathing life into it as you were with the rune. So, I mean, know what you're doing, right? Understand what it is you're doing, but the intent behind it, as long as it's good and as long as you understand it all, I don't think it's a bad thing at all. Like so Dingo said, oh yeah, so yeah, the why is the most important thing. Significance does said fossils hold. Sacred is sacred, and if it means something to you, then it is the perfect place by which to carve runes upon. I, not even reading that comment ahead of time, fully agree. Intent is everything. Um, absolutely fascinated in paleontology for many years. Yeah, like dude, like that would be I mean, I know me as a Vitki, as a rune worker and as a studier of the runes and as a seeker of mystery, as it were, you know, willing to be in the dark, right? Um, there's almost there's almost nothing that I wouldn't be willing to sink into the well further to learn rune magic on, you know. Um, so I think that those opportunities that you have would be tremendous, tremendous opportunities to take advantage of if done rightly. Means more to you than others, like Dingo said. Um, value is retained and held by that person. You know what I mean? It could just be another piece of rock or stone or whatever to anybody else, but to you, it may be priceless and it may mean something more. So therefore, the value of it is retained by you. Godfrey Bear says thinks that it should not be altered and just placed on your altar. The object itself is significant enough for its own unique connection. Just the opinion of an old bear, and that's a valued opinion. You know what I mean? Because like I said, it's old, and Dingo reflects. You know, it's old energy. It's there's a level of sacredness inherently bound to this piece because it survived how many aeons, how many millennia, how much time has this piece survived? So there is so much energy tied to this, so much orlog tied to this thing, what it has been through, what it has seen, what it has experienced, right? To infiltrate it or to do anything to it, you know, I don't know. It's your hall, your call. You're the one feeling it. You're the one touching it, right? Now there are some things that I have held and that I have touched that I would be like, I don't want to do anything to this. Matter of fact, I don't want it around me anymore. Right? There's that level. There's that sort of thing that goes on. There's a feeling that you get, and there's nothing that I think that any one of us could, you know, say that has historical. It's probably all conjecture and it's all UPG at the very least. But I think every single one of us here, that at least currently watching right now or commenting right now, can say that there are certain things that you have experienced, that you have touched, that you have held, that you have been in the presence of, and you go, nope, don't want none of that. Just don't want none of it. Don't want any of that. You do it with you. You keep it away from me. I don't want any of it. So I don't know. It's, you know, it's all personal. It's all personal experience. You know, opinions aside, you're the one that's ultimately dealing with it. You're the one that has it. You're the one that holds it. You're the one that works with it, right? Yeah, like I can see that too, right? Dingo said I can see that from the old bear. Old energy feels that it would hold more power. See it as strength. Going on your Thor altar. Well, you know, if you have something dedicated to Thor, if you have something dedicated to Thor, if you have something dedicated to the Thunder God himself, you know, that may just be enough. Old energy, that old inherent. And here's another thing to think about, Robert. If you're putting it on the altar to Thor, and you're pulling a fossil from the earth, right, where this fossil has been forever, who is mother to Thor? Who is mother to us all? If you want to, you know, flesh it out even further, Jord, Earth, Mother Jord, right? So the power of Mother Jord, the power of Thor's mother, is already imbibed into that fossil piece. So with that, thinking of it further, like what else would need to be? What else does there need to be? Right? It's already tied to Thor in a way through being a fossil that has existed in the skin of Jord for so long, right? So something to think about. Yeah. So Wyatt says, you know what's really interesting? The persons who first introduced me to occult practice gave you a blue agate stone. Don't know what he did to it. It was crazy. As soon as you put it in your hands, and you knew it was powerful. Felt a chill down your spine. Made you feel light. Still working with it now after these years. Mama knows best, right, Dingo? Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so, you know, I've not been to, I've not really delved deep into any sort of crystal or stone work. That's probably more within Dingo's wheelhouse, or my wife, who's not here, and doesn't get on these live streams. Um, but in terms of like crystal magic, stone magic, those types of things, the various energies that certain stones, and carry with them or whatever. That's a bit more new agey for me than I've been ever comfortable to delve into. Not taking away from the validity of it at all, and the power that these various relics of these stones carry. But it's just not. That's not in my wheelhouse, right? I don't have any horse in that race to talk about it. But I'm certainly um, uh, not surprised that you would feel that sort of thing yourself. You may be super sensitive to that particular stone. You may be sensitive to that type of energy. Um, Not uncommon whatsoever, and it's not something to question or to think as odd. I think it's something that should be cultivated, um, and something to be guided healthfully. You know, I'm a bit more um, just comfortable with working things that I'm tied to specifically. The runes spoke to me early on in my heathen practices. That's not something that is required, and it's not something that every heathen is going to experience, right? You don't have to know the runes. You don't have to understand rune magic. You don't have to know the meanings of the runes to be a good heathen, right? Dingo will tell you, right? When it comes to the runes and stuff, he's like, go to Jesse, whatever. Go to Ken. Go to these other people that he knows that we know together, um, that are like that's your go-to guy for that sort of thing. And I'll be the first to say, hey, when it comes to the stones and then when it comes to crystals and this, like I got nothing. Like that's not me. That's not my area of knowledge. That's not my area of comfortability. That's not my area of expertise by any means. So um, you work through that, and find the ways to cultivate that. But I think it's something that you should cultivate for sure. You know, um, your mom's wheel, yeah, dingoes for sure. Like, yeah, like she definitely in the times that I've been around dingo's mother, um, and herbs, oils, crystals. She's witchy in that way. um, do I think old heathens found fossils and, like others, thought dragons? I mean, it's possible. I mean, for as much of the way our people cultivated the land and worked the land, I mean, they could have discovered a lot of things. What they saw in it, what they knew of it, what they were able to uh, get information from what limited resources they had, whatever they were able to learn, like what they thought of it, like, oh well, it could be this, it could be that. Sure, I mean, I'm it's conjecture at this point, but I don't think it's unrealistic to think that that could have happened. Um, something about becoming a relic. It's all about what energy is put into them. Anything can be a relic. Stones are able to hold more. It is said. I think it's interesting how fossils are formulated through by organic material, right? So you've got fossils of bone, fossils of shell, fossils of or things that are organic. Even wood can become petrified and stone-like, right? Something that was living at some point, something that held life in itself. Um, and so, yes, I think that there's the life of those things, that what they once were, that exist even after their life expectancy. You know what I mean? They were preserved and become fossilized in some sort of way. So it's a life, um, something that had life in it, actual living, breathing life, whether it be wood or aquatic or um, you know deciduous or non-deciduous sort of, trees, that sort of thing. Life finds a way. It's like Jurassic Park. Ian McKellen. Yeah, life finds a way. Like, I don't know. Like, it's really that. Like, it's life finds a way, and life continues on even after that moment in time. And so the power of life continues on through those relics. So I don't know. It's something to think about. Let me read the comments here. See, if I were able to, I'd let you borrow that agate just to know how insane it is. Literally felt it surround me. I don't know what kind of enchantment he put on that thing. Wyatt, I don't know if anybody else would feel the same thing you're feeling, and that's just my own opinion. I don't know if somebody else would feel what you're feeling. If it was given to you, it was given to you for maybe a specific reason. Whatever magic or whatever work was done to it for you. That's something to be considered as well. But maybe the other person wouldn't feel the same thing as you. Godfrey Bear learned to listen to Yord as a cub. Now you tend to what she figures is important. Well, good for you. Good for the bear, right? Mama is a sweet lady. She's sweet, but she don't mess around. Mama don't mess around. You know what I mean? Mama don't play. I think we all can agree to that. Mama don't play no games. And energy never dies, it only changes. It does. You're right, Dingo. You're absolutely right. She can be, yes, and she's given dreams, hopes of dreams cause scary. Great impression. Thanks, Astrid. Daddy Goldblum, right? Jeff Goldblum. Uh, he's a great character. He can do so many things, and I can't possibly do justice. But how life finds a way, and this whole chaos theory, you know. Yeah. Well. There you go. If you cut that and you put that into something, that video segment, if anybody cuts it and puts it into anything and tags Jeff Goldblum in it, I'm sorry, Jeff Goldblum. That was horrible. um, why it says it believed that if unused, eventually energy can become stagnant and can be awoken by using it again. So I think I think energy is as there's as much life as is given to it. I don't know. I think there's some validity to what you're saying, Wyatt. You know, um, if there's no fuel given to the fire, then the embers just smolder. You know what I mean? They just sort of sit there. Now, once you add fuel to the fire, and once you add life of breath and fuel and things of that nature, then it revives and it becomes living again. But there's always some sort of inherent dormant energy that's there, ready to be sparked. I don't know. That's my very basic understanding of it all. What is meant is that it's specific to you. I'm reading Dingo's comment here. The more you feed it energy, the stronger it gets. And I think that's true for a lot of things. You know what I mean? Layers of the well, or layers to the well, you know? So much of what happens to folks over time may be the result of the constant feeding into the well of whatever that primal layer may have been, right? So that primal layer, that base layer, may have been some bad juju, some bad things. And the next thing you know, that next layer that gets added to it is just more gunk that adds to the layer. And then next thing you know, this other one here is more gunk that get, and so you got this just building of the gunk, building of the layer of darkness and negativity. Once you start adding different energy to it, once you start adding more positivity, once you're adding more good to it, it starts to dilute the bad, and it starts to take away, and it starts to make that water clearer, right? It's not so murky anymore. So there's that too. Talking about, the concept of orlog and things that have come before, things that have been laid down in the well that you can't change, right? As long as you keep feeding that, as long as you keep adding to that well with the negativity, then well, it's just going to keep building up that gunk layer. It's going to keep adding up that garbage, right? You have the ability to change things for the future. The past is the past. What was there is there. Nothing can be changed about the past. All we can do is add to the well to add clarity to the well, right? And the more clarity we add, the more good that we add, the more diluted it becomes. And eventually all that crap just settles to the bottom and becomes not even so much as a memory, right? Yeah, or you find last thing George showed me was some things coming out of the ocean. Pass on that, thanks. Well, now we're touching on other areas of Yord, other areas of mythology of things, right? Because Yord is earth, and then you have the water, the seas, the oceans, things that touch upon other mythical aspects. Ran, Njord. Njord, as a matter of fact, I think probably one of the more historically attested to figures. Probably do a video on that soon too. Says why how some things which involve emotion goes from colorful to gray. That's what you're talking about. The stagnant is what things when lose their pizzazz. Yeah. Cthulhu coming to get you. No, but like Dingo says, change isn't bad. That transition, that dimness, the grayness, to a more vivacious or to a more vibrant colors, things that you attest to life and to vibrancy, or that whatever, that transition is not bad at all. There's a necessary change for that, and that's a lot of what was exemplified in our winter nights time and winter nights ritual, right? As a matter of fact, a bind rune, that I made was a combination of obviously multiple runes, but this is a bind rune that I made to consider for winter nights, because it contains the Iwas rune, the transition and the connection between life and death, between the sacred and the profane, between the divine and us. Of course, the equal exchange of gifting and torisas and stuff that exists, but it's a necessary part of existence. You will never be the same today as you are tomorrow, and you will never be the same tomorrow as you are the day after. There's always a constant shifting of change between the dawn, between dagas, right? Between the dawn and the new day. That shift, that constant shift is always going to be there daily. Dagas is the daily change. Dagas is the daily exchange of life to death, dark to light, the necessary need for growth, right? There are some plants, there are some trees, there are some organisms that require darkness to live. I remember my mother growing moon plants, moonflowers, things that only would bloom, that would only bloom once a month on the full moon. Darkness is not bad, not in our beliefs, not in the version of heathenry that I've adopted, not in the approach to heathenry. Like, to be in the dark is not a bad thing. There's no such thing as dark magic, as it were. You know, dark is not evil. Evil doesn't exist in the darkness. Evil exists in things that are bad for your tribe, that tear your tribe apart. You know, darkness can be used to focus on yourself. Darkness can be used to learn, to grow, and to bloom. Even you can bloom in the darkness. You can grow in the darkness. Don't be scared of the dark. Don't be dismayed by the gray. You know. Thanks, Dingo. Um, yeah. This had one eye, half man, half horse, skinless. I'm reading your comments, Miss Godfrey Bear. Spent a few months bound, or found some Celtic sea demons. Apparently got there far. Okay. Long arms. Well, we see things that are meant for us to see. And I think a lot of times when we connect with certain things, then we open up certain portals. We create a connection between us and the sacred, between the profane and the sacred, that we may not be ready for, but that we open ourselves up for. And so when those creatures come abound, when those demons or when those monsters make themselves manifest, it shocks us. It puts us in a state of shock, and it gives us a um, a moment to, or a period of time, or moments of time to question things. You know, but we're given to see those things for a reason, and we live in profane space and time, so we get that time and we get that moment, however long it may be, to think about it. You know. Um, all experiencing that kind of existential dread. Reading Dingo's comment, yeah, all experiencing that kind of existential dread about the state of the world. Dreams mean something, and definitely, yeah, definitely appreciate you bringing it up. Like Dingo's, being here, able to, subconscious is trying to communicate. There's things that touch the realms of the sacred when we are outside of our normal experience of profane space and time. That subconscious self, right? I've done videos on the parts of self, the Homer, the Huger, the Philia, all these various parts of self that touch and that have the ability to reach whatever name you want to put to it, whatever title you want to add to it. It gives it gives us the ability to make that connection with the sacred, and then we just have to digest it, and it takes a while sometimes. Shoot, man, I've sat after rune castings, after sitting out and casting runes naked in the wilderness under the moonlight, and I've had to sit and dwell and ponder on the meanings of the castings for days, right? Because of the connection that I made at the time. I wasn't really there. I wasn't really I was there, but there was another part of me that wasn't there. You know what I mean? Like it's so complex, and it's you speak to certain people about these things and they look at you like, you know, like you got three heads. And I'm like, well, maybe I do at that particular time. Maybe I do have three heads and 9 arms and 14 feet or whatever. But we have the opportunity, we have the luxury of digesting it after the fact. And that is the beauty of it, I think. That is the painful beauty of it. You know, the opportunity to digest the complexities of our connections with the sacred and trying to just make sense of it all. What was given to me to understand? What do I take away from this? Right? Um, yeah, just there to see it. We can all kill the beast if we band together. Well, that beast, you know, higher self, subconscious. I'm reading the content, the comments. You know, the beast is already dead and has been for a while. The beast is what kills Thor, and Thor kills the beast. Remember that, right? The great protector of Midgard at Ragnarok is slain by the beast, and who also slays the beast. It's a fantastic end to things of the way it goes in relative terms. Life just doesn't get better. Well, you know, when I can, when it's appropriate, sometimes that's what you got to do. Sometimes you just got to get naked in the moonlight. Sometimes you just got to get naked in the moonlight. And you can quote me on that. Because I know Dingo's here and he can attest to that. And that's just the way she goes sometimes. Way she go, boys. Way she goes. Right? Yeah. The destruction of Thor results in his destruction of the monster. Action and reaction. You know? Every moment he had up until that point could not bring the beast down. You know? Odin is slain by Fenrir. You know, Surtur, the fire giant kills Freyr. You know what I mean? There's this dichotomy. There's this elaborate thing that they kill each other. Order and chaos. Constant seeking of balance. Clashes in the end, you know. Been there before many times. Hell yeah, you know. Hell is in Helheim. The goddess Hel. The Jotun Hel. Loki's daughter Hel. But that's where the magic happens. You know? When you step away from reality, when whatever way you can, whether it's literally stepping away from the confines of your space, the confines of your home, your yard, your whatever, if you can get out. Sometimes you can get into that space just in your head. Sometimes you can just get there. You don't have to be too far away from civilization or whatever. But that helps. It helps. It does help to get just out, away, right? Nothing surrounds you but the wild. You know, you kind of at the mercy of Utengard. You're at the mercy of the wilderness. You know, there's some sort of primal energy that you're able to absorb in those senses. I don't know. It's pretty spectacular. Born killing, died killing. Would that make Thor a god of death and destruction as well? Reading Wyatt's comment. So I mean, it's funny because like Thor is not necessarily historically or anything connected to death and destruction. He's a protector. And yes, his demise is due to the battles that he wages, or the battle that he wages with Jormungandr. You know what I mean? He's not a god attested to death and destruction so much. He's a god of fertility and a god of life, especially when you look at some of the historical attestations of his existence in Scandinavian countries. His name place is added to certain countries, to certain cities, to certain things, you know. So he's a life-giving god. You know, his hammer is a hammer of destruction, but also a hammer of hallowing and a hammer of blessing. His hammer is brought upon in Thrymskvida to bless the union between Thrym and who he thought was Freya, right? And so in kind, that the hammer is used to bless the unions of married couples quite often, especially in modern times. The hammer is used to hallow sacred space. The sign of the hammer, right? You will quite often see people make a gesture of a hammer, right? As it were, to hallow sacred space. It's a very modern construct, but it's a gesture to hallow sacred space. So, but does he destroy? Does he conquer? Does he, kill? Sure, that's what the protector does. That is what the strongest of the gods is tasked to do. But the gray happens in between. Sove is Koguda. Yeah. The Triskelion is a powerful tool. Study the numbers 369 and you will unlock the secrets of the universe. Nikola Tesla. Okay. Now we want to get into sacred geometry. Oh man, now we're getting out of my comfort zone. But yeah, the 369 rule. I've actually used that in my professional career. There's a 369 rule. That's totally unrelated to what we're talking about right now, but there is sacredness to those numbers. You know what I mean? Separate to reconstruct. Matters of Thor, the side of speak with destructive is only to recreate into something better. Yeah. Yeah, it's a constant battle. You know what I mean? It's a constant struggle of balance. The battles between Thor and Jotnar, right, is the elements of order against chaos. And the clash that exists when the two combine, right? One is trying to undo the other, and there's a balance that's needing to be sought. Like Dengo mentioned earlier, it's an ancient concept, yin yang. You know what I mean? That balance needs to exist. But the symbol itself, yin yang, there's a little bit of yin and yang, and there's a little bit of yang and yin, right? there has to be a little bit of each in the other to maintain that balance, right? It's where this whole Loki thing comes in. Odin specifically too, right? Odin is a agent of chaos, if you will, although he does not like to be looked upon that as such. Nowadays, I will go on record as saying that you wanna understand chaos, you wanna understand ruin, you wanna understand destruction, you wanna understand the diabolical nature of anything, then the old man is right there, you know. Um, and those few, those well, maybe not few, but those select individuals who've decided to hang from the tree and to be pierced by his spear, to be pierced by Gungnir, right? Understand the maniacal, the madness, the diabolical nature of Old One Eye, right? My staff, which you may not be able to see because of the lighting, but it stands over here in the corner of my room, has his name's inscribed into the forks of my wandering staff, which is constantly a work in progress. But yeah, Gangleri, you know, Gungnir, the all the names of Odin that exist, the hooded one, the masked one, the mad one. This guy is crazy. Um, but for reasons, right? For good reasons. And I find it amazing, right? When people come into heathenry, they romanticize Odin so much. I'm like, do you realize what you're doing? Loose cannon is a word that comes to mind, but controlled. I don't know. It's so many things. There's so many complexities. We could sit here and talk forever, all night about Odin, you know, and what he means to different ones and everything. But man, oh man, you want to romanticize Odin? Do you even know what you're getting yourself into when you do that? Do you realize what he demands? Do you realize what he requires for your allegiance to for that sort of thing? If you want to get into that approach, like if you pledge yourself to Odin, if you put his mark upon you, if you say that your life is his and yours, like, you got to be crazy. You got to be loco en la cabeza. Like you got to be kind of, you know, you got to have a few nuts loose if you're willing to go that route. But man, oh man, there's reward in that. There is reward in that, and from those wounds come great reward. You know. Um, catch up on some of the comments here. People talking about yin yang, the gray between. Just referring to that. Yeah. Really isn't sacred geometry, numerology. Yeah, numerology is what I was. The word I was like, not sacred geometry, but numerology is what I was looking at. Fourth of destruction, Loki as a whole. I'll just cannot. Yeah, we could go on for hours. Necessary evil, but man, yeah. I hate the guy too, man. Hate is a strong term, but I loathe Loki. You know, I loathe Loki. Interesting conversation that Dingo and I had over winter nights on our way out. No, yeah, we were actually on our way out to the week or two before winter nights. We were talking about the role of the feminine. Dingo will remember this, the role of the feminine in heathenry. And we were talking about Sif. No, not Sif. Sigyn, Loki's wife, Sigyn. And how the role of the feminine. Yeah, I'm bringing it up. um, more on this to come, probably in a more controlled format with somebody else, right? But Dingo and I got to talking about the role of the feminine, which is a phenomenal thing to be bringing up now and today in heathenry specifically, I think, because the role of women and the feminine role in heathenry is so profound and it's so strong and it has so much of an influence in the way things go, right? We see a lot of ritual being maybe not necessarily led by the feminine, but having a strong feminine role in the ritual. Sumbel specifically. Sumbel very specifically. Dingo was a part of Yule this past year, and he understands the role of the feminine during Sumbel. Very, very critical to have that element exist. So we got to talking about it and the role of Sigyn in the lore. Sigyn holds the pot or holds the pan or holds the bowl over Loki to prevent him from being tortured by the venom that drips from the snake under the rock from which he is bound. And she holds it so so she holds it, right, and she keeps the venom, and when the venom is about to overflow, she steps away and dumps it out and comes back, and of course in between when the venom drips on him and he shakes, right, when earthquakes are formed, we all know that. But the thing that we talked about specifically, right, was her role in the mythology, right? Because where else did we hear about the dedication, the undying devotion of Sigyn? Loki was outlawed. He was needing. He got cast out and he got bound to this rock to suffer. And was that something that Sigyn was fated to experience? No, not necessarily. But because she was devoted to Loki in the lore, because she was his wife, because she was bound to him, she went with him and she was there by his side to provide that relief. Even though he was bound and even though he was, sentenced to this fate, she went with him. So the role of the woman, the role of the feminine is, I think, sometimes, and we talked about this, it's like underappreciated or overlooked. The power of the feminine role. She was there. She wasn't sentenced to this fate. He was. And yet, she stays by his side. She holds that bowl. She captures the burning poison and gives him relief, even though she wasn't sentenced to that. So there's some significance to that I want to talk a bit about with somebody else on this channel. We Dingo and I had talked about this on our trip out to his parents' property to, harvest the wood for winter nights. Yeah, like Dingo says, the spear hurts. Odin isn't playing around, and tread carefully. If there's anybody that I know who can speak to that and be speaking truth, then it's Dingo. It ain't nothing to play with, right? The search for powerful knowledge comes at a price of your own insanity. Went from path of Odin, and the entire reason I came to this religion was in search for the true God in its truest form of spiritual wisdom. Get ready, man. Just be ready for the ride. The spear hits in different ways for different people. Lost a couple of screws while going down the path. Well, you got a couple more screws left to go, and I'm sure that when all screws come loose and you think that there's nothing left to go, then there's going to be some more. Um, you're still young and ambitious, and it's a wild ride. Put it that way, right? And as Dingo says, we could all hope for such devotion, and that's probably one of the biggest things that we were keying in on, right? Was that regardless of Loki's mishaps and regardless of Loki's just downright, you know, barging into Aegir's Hall drunk and everything and just crap talking everybody in Aegir's Hall, right? The whole fleeting thing that happened during Locust Center, right? Killing of Balder, being responsible for the death of Balder, and then not even being so much as the reason to bring Balder back, that he was the one and lone figure in all of creation at that point, right? That refuses to weep for Balder, right? Just like in spite of the guy, in spite of it all, refuses to weep. In spite of all that, in spite of him being outlawed, Sigyn remains devoted and dedicated to Loki. And I think that is a very important thing to take away from our recognition and for our appreciation of the feminine roles within our heathen communities. It's going to be something I hope to talk about on this channel with another guest at another time. Um, so I hope you all will, be subscribed to the channel and be tuned in for that, because it's going to be something that we talk about at some point in time. Sigyn protects. I'm reading One-Eyed Willie's comment. Says Sigyn protects us from Loki's wrath by relieving his pain. That is also an interesting thing to note, because again, when you look at the mythology and right why the earthquakes and stuff like that is when Sigyn's bowl that she's holding overflows and she has to step away, poison drips on Loki and he writhes in agony, and that's when earthquakes happen. So yes, her devotion is what inherently or in some sort of way keeps Midgard together and doesn't keep us from just busting apart at the seams. She is a special lady and doesn't get enough credit, as Dingo just said, and that is, I have a plan on how I want this whole thing to flesh out on the channel, but I'm hoping that it's going to include a special guest. So more to come on that, but I'm glad that we talked about it. You guys, if you're new to the channel, if you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. As we continue to talk, the Linktree link that I posted above, share it around. I don't care what social media platforms you are. Share this video. There's a share option in your YouTube link that you're watching right now. Share around on your social media platforms if you have any, and ask some people to join, man, because we're going to be here. We're going to be here for a little bit. You know what I mean? It's early in my part of Midgard. And so happy to talk for any length of time. Wyatt, you were the same age. You were the same at your age, mainly from the overload of ideas. Yeah. Mental breakdowns, why I exist. Yeah. So, Wyatt, your age, and the ability to express yourself on a social media platform like this. I know you're young, and the audience that is here right now that's commenting, that's engaging in this sort of thing, maybe your elders, people that are older than you, but we've come from places and we've experienced things, and you're definitely not alone. You know what I mean? It's not anything new. It may be new for you, and you may be experiencing things that are, scary, or you have questions about. or whatever. But it's been a while since we've had a chance to have these like live YouTube things. But you have, I believe I still have your contact information, email address. I know I've contacted, we've been in contact in the past, you know. Um, so if we need to rekindle those fires and reconnect in that sort of way, then I'd be happy to do so. And if we can arrange something where other people are on that sort of discussion or call or whatever, if you have interest to talk about anything, um, then I speak for myself. I'm happy to do that, but I think I can speak on behalf of at least my tribe that we would be happy to do that as well. So you're not alone. You're not alone. Um, and none of us are. You know, we're all battling certain things. We're all experiencing things, especially now and today, man. Like there's so many things going on in the world where we're trying to turn off the outer and tune in to the inner, right? The heck with what's going on outside. I want to focus on what's going on inside. So we turn inward. We focus inward. Um, so much of what happened during winter nights, where Dingo and I were with our tribe, right? The different rune castings that came about. Everybody drew a rune. Everybody got to contemplate on things and experience certain things, right? We all remember what those were, right? Life and death and kindred and focusing inward and uh, the connection between the sacred and the profane. And profane doesn't mean anything bad. It's just our existence in the profane space, but our reach into the sacred and our connection between them. Guys, I think so much of what's happening nowadays for pagans, not just immediately, but all over the world. Hey, Troy Hartman, hail and welcome. Thank you for joining. Just got you see your comment there. Good to see you. But so much of what's happening in life nowadays across the world, pagans are doing things, and they are trying to connect with the sacred, in ways that are making ripples in the well, right? A splash in the well, the ripple effect that it has, you know, when you've got so many things going in there, when so much of what's happening is causing a commotion, right? Stirring of the waters. You can't help but think that the gods are taking notice. So it's no surprise to me that things like this are becoming more sensitive, right? Like there's a higher sensitivity uh, to these sort of things, um, just because of the efforts that are being placed by so many different pagans and so many different heathens, right? Like I can't imagine that the gods don't take notice of this sort of thing. There's just too much going out in that aspect and in that sort of way for it to be avoided or ignored, you know. And that's just my own opinion, right? I could be totally off base. I could be totally wrong, but one horn being blown in the audience of a million may not necessarily be heard, but when you get 10,000 horns being blown, that audience may notice it because the noise is louder. There's bigger things being done. More attention is being drawn. Yeah, I remember Wyatt, with the call idea. Um, it may have gotten put on hold, but it was not ever forgotten. Um, we'll try to make that work for sure. The runes that ended up in The logs in the fire when it burned down. Yep, yep. That's another cool thing that happened. When the Wicker Man burned down during winter nights, and when we got to see the fires, burning and the embers and everything, and the more fuel that got added to it. Seeing certain things in the fire. Um, it does take mass energy for the gods to take notice. You're right, Dingo. Right. Um, the horn depends on the musician. Yeah, yeah. But I do. I can't help but I've heard different things from different pagans on different platforms. About justice, about this, about that, and about how the gods are taking notice or whatever. And I bring up the fact. I'm like, well, why would the gods notice a singular person's action? Why would the gods notice one thing, this, that, or the other? What care do they have about us in the United States, right? We're talking about a global audience or whatever. Like, what of Midgard? Like, what is? Let's just take things for example. Like political climates, whatever. And I'm not at all a political advocate for anything here on this channel. I don't talk about politics, but when the idea got brought up, it's like, well, it's not just us, but it's multiple people advocating for certain things, and certain things happen. It's like, well, maybe they are taking notice. Maybe there are so many pagans assembling to do certain things in their own certain way that the noise is being raised in so many different angles that it can't just but help draw the attention of the gods. That kind of makes sense to me. You know what I mean? Regardless, um, right is right, wrong is wrong. It's a bit more complex now in the day, or now in today's time, because of just how many various, you know, approaches to society. Like, again, I keep going back to like political views or whatever. Like, it's a democracy, it's a republic, it's a this, it's a that. It's a dictatorship, it's a whatever, it's a socialist government, it's a whatever. Like, whatever. But when when it comes down to it, if right is right and wrong is wrong, what is sought to be right, how could it just not? How could we not draw the attention of the gods? I don't know. It's noise is being made. Noise is definitely being made. You can say without any shadow of a doubt that noise is being made. You can't ignore noise, right? So if attention is being drawn in a certain direction, whatever, how it fleshes out and what happens could be. It's interesting. Sometimes some of us are just sitting back and just watching, right? Um, time, space, the universe, existence, time's purpose, perspective, wondering if anything around me is even real. Uh, these things bother you daily. Yeah, 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 Wyatt. I think I get you, man, and I think Dingo does too. You think about a lot of things that are outside of your native mind. You can only control your hearth. Yep, absolutely. Saw a shiny and took a dog poop. Hey, that happens. That definitely happens. But whatever happens, like Dingo said, you control what happens in your hearth, in your space. We can all be affected by what's happening outside of the world, the outside world. The world is a big place, and it's so much of a bigger place now for us nowadays as modern humans because of things like this, right? Because of YouTube, because of Facebook, because of Twitter, because of Instagram, because of all these social media platforms that give everybody the power to say certain things and voice their opinions and do certain things, right? Um, Heathenry is where the hearth is. Remember that. Heathenry is where the hearth is. And that's not me. That's Eric Shervin from the Ravens Call. He put that out. Heathenry is where the hearth is. Okay? You only have control of what happens within your hearth. And as an extension, what happens in the tribe, right? There's a limited control of what happens there based on the social construct and the contracts that have been established through tribal few. But it's at the hearth level. It's at the grassroots level. It's none of this I'm online and I'm in the same group as you and you like the same songs as me and you believe in the same gods as me and therefore we're kindred and therefore we're brothers. It ain't none of that, man. It's not. Okay? I will go on record as that. It is not that. It is not so universal as to be confused with the fatherhood of the gods under man. I don't know. Like, I don't know. You can't universalize heathenry like that, you know? There are certain inherent things that exist within heathenry that a lot of us will agree on, but when it comes down to it, heathenry is where the hearth is. Community has to exist first and foremost, organically. From the community will grow tribe organically, right? Hearths will tie themselves to other hearths. From those unions and from those allegiances, tribe is formed. It's how it's been. It's how it's always been. It's how it works. You can't force tribe, and that's just how it is. You can't force it. You can't force an idea or a thought or an opinion on somebody. What exists within the tribe, those that are a part of the tribe will understand and know that that is what exists. Anybody that wants to be a part of that will adopt that mentality as well. But it starts and it grows organically. It initiates, the roots are grown organically. What comes from that union has a strong root. So opinions, politics, all that mess, nothing to do with tribe. At least I don't think it should be. You know, you can be a whatever politician. You know, you can be, you know, for a certain politician. You can vote for whatever political party. You can do all that kind of mess in your own heart. But when it comes down to the tribe, there are certain things that are just that's not a part of it. So, I'll be back. See ya. Wyatt sounds like yeah, takes years. Shout out to Eric for sure. How things work and why. Not because I absolutely need to know, but rather because I don't want to be confused about it, which is why I feel so connected with Odin. Well, that's the madness, you know what I mean? It's, you know, that thirst for knowledge. I can relate to that as well, you know what I mean? Always asking questions, and it's gotten me in trouble. It's gotten me in trouble a lot, and I've had to dig myself out of holes, and I've had to correct myself out of situations because of that. Sometimes you can ask too many questions, and sometimes you get yourself stuck in a situation, and you gotta, worm your way out of it. You gotta fly your way out of it. Odin found himself in situations like that as well, if you read the lore, right? Sometimes too much knowledge hurts, and it will put you in a bad position. So as long as you recognize that, and as long as you know what you're getting into, don't think that just because you're, oh, I'm searching for knowledge, I'm in the right or whatever. You know what? Sometimes you just don't need to know. There's a saying in the military, you're on a need to know basis. And right now, you don't need to know. And sometimes that's fine. You don't need to know. You don't need to know why. You don't need to know what. You just don't need to know. And that's okay. I challenge things a lot. I think I know too much quite often. Just getting a little bit personal with everybody. I think I know too much when it comes to certain things, right? And I don't know everything. And when I do put my opinion in there, when I do say certain things, I miss the obvious picture. Okay. I'll try to read in between the lines of things, right? But I'll miss the actual picture. And then when it's called out, I'm like, I'm an idiot. You got me. You know what I mean? But that's part of the learning process. That's kind of that, check to reality. Like, hey, idiot, you don't know everything. Stop being so full of pride. Stop being so much like you think you need to know everything. Learn a thing or two. Shut up. Learn a thing or two. I've had that happen a number of times throughout my life, and it always hit me, like it hit my pride so much, where I was like, yeah, well, I knew that, or I was thinking about that, but it didn't apply to whatever excuse I wanted to make up. Over the years and over time, I've learned to just shut up, and listen, be quiet, learn a thing or two. You're going to learn more in silence than you are yakking your jaw all the time. And I still fall, short of it from time to time. I still try to call out things that I think I know, or um, things that I think I may be an expert in or whatever, but I'm not. So it's a tough path, you know what I mean? When you're always trying to build on your knowledge, right? Um, there's poetry to this, but knowledge cometh before the fall, or pride cometh before the fall, I think is what the actual thing says. But with so much knowledge, with wisdom, with all these sorts of things, comes a sense of pride, because hey, I know it. I think I'm educated, right? You can't tell me I'm wrong. Well, guess what? You may just be. Your knowledge may not be what you think it is. So be careful. It's dangerous territory. It's dangerous to be so knowledgeable because you think you need to know everything, because you think you have to know everything, that sometimes you don't. Sometimes you just don't. Um, deep holes of knowledge that you've fallen into. If you stare into the void, it will stare back at you. Yeah. Hey, like Dingo says, failure is the best teacher. Mistakes are what teaches us, right? Because guess what? I don't think that I'm a failure if I learn from my mistakes. If I make a mistake and I don't learn from it, then I'm a failure, right? If I fall along the way, if I make myself look like an idiot in front of people or whatever, as long as I've picked myself back up, dust myself off, and move on, I've learned. But if I pick myself up and go back to spouting the same garbage that I spouted off moments ago, right? Then I'm a failure. Then I'm an absolute failure. And then I haven't learned anything because I'm just repeating the same cycle over and over again. So failure will teach you. Mistakes will teach you if you let them. And you're wise if you do. Think of it as the void does stare back at you, and you just stare right back. What you got, right? If you're ready. Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean, Wyatt. Like I said, Dingo and I, even though we've not known each other for very long, it's incredible how much we connect on certain things. And there's a reason why he's my brother, and there's a reason why he's my Gothi. You know, um, we understand each other. We come from different backgrounds, but we understand each other, and we can see those certain things. I totally understand where you're coming from, man. I was a young individual like you are, a youth growing into my manhood. You know what I mean? And even though I wasn't heathen at the time, and even though I was, in the spiritual path or the journey of my life at that time, I was I was gung ho, man. I was ready to teach. I don't need to learn anymore. I need to teach. I need to show people. I need to show people what I've learned, right? I want people to know what I know, and I want people to learn what I've learned. And there's a place for that. There's a place for that. But experience, age, time, those sorts of things. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with learning so much and then just kind of coasting and going along the way. Thanks, John. Glad to hear that you're still here as we discuss and as we go on with things. That you're listening or whatever. But yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I remember doing so many different like written essays or papers and stuff about things that I learned and wanting to speak in front of people. And the community that I was in was like, it's not your place. It's not your place to teach. It's not your place to deliver that. And that was largely due to the culture and the dogmatic doctrine or whatever that I grew up in. I'm not placing the same sort of thing here, but it helped me learn the value of taking the back seat, right? And continue to learn, continue to understand, continue to ask questions, continue to gain your knowledge, continue to cultivate that sort of thing. You know what I mean? Um, Absolutely nothing wrong with that. Um, Matter of fact, there's a lot of knowledge that can be shared from a fresh perspective. I would encourage that when given the opportunity, when given the chances, like maybe it's here or maybe it's, school or wherever, whatever platforms you have available to you, to share your knowledge and to share the things that you've learned where it's applicable. Because who knows what other people can gain from that, right? Because sometimes we get so caught up in the overall view of things that we miss the fine-tune things, and we need that fine-tuned approach to things. So you may be in a position to um, offer that sort of insight. So think about that as well. It's great to see you, Wyatt. I understand you got to go. A little over 3 hours running on the live chat. I think I am actually going to adjourn for now. The time has flown by. It's been a great great time for everybody. If you haven't yet, please check out the Linktree link that I posted in live chat comments. We are a little over 3 hours into the live stream, so support the channel in any way that you can through the Linktree link that I posted. You know, subscribe to the channel, like the Facebook page, follow on Twitter. If you want to become a patron on Patreon, there's multiple levels that you can do so. And hopefully these live streams will continue to be somewhat of a more regular thing. Maybe not 3 hours every week, but hopefully they will be something of a more regular occurrence. So thank you all for your input. Thank you all for hanging out tonight with me, today, tonight, wherever it is that you are. Thanks, Dingo, Wyatt, John, and Troy. Thank you, Troy, for the congratulatory comments on becoming an uncle. I am beyond ecstatic. I can't wait for my niece or nephew to be here next summer. So thank you again for that. Thank you, John. Thank you, Godfrey Bear. Thank you, One-Eyed Willie. Everybody who I may have missed, Mariah, everyone that's been on the live stream for the last 3 hours, you know, your support is greatly appreciated. Please be sure to share the content. I've got a really interesting topic of discussion that I want to bring up on my next video. Hopefully will be out this coming week, probably in a week from now, Sunday night. So subscribe to the channel, ding the bell for notifications so that you don't miss anything. And check out the Linktree to make sure that you're supporting Midgard Musings in every way and any way that you can. So have a great night, everybody. I hope you're all staying safe, healthy, well, and strong. And until next time, may your ancestors smile upon you, and may your hearth fires burn bright. Have a great night, everybody. Bye-bye.